Alright. So let us start. This is about 8 lines on the bottom on page AYIN. The line begins with the word she-zeh-poel bitul mitzias atzmi. We're talking about Mochin in contrast to midas.
I thought you went on a trip.
Huh?
I thought you went on a trip, that's why I took his seat.
Midas come as a result and based on hergish atzmai, of self-awareness. Mochin, in contrast, is the negation of hergish atzmai. And the reason is because Mochin have an element of bitul. What is the element of bitul in Mochin? A sense of insignificance of the self. Is that Mochin, the principle of Mochin is that it is drawn to that which is above him, above them, that which is higher. Higher means that it is the furthest away from tangibility. It is something which can only be known through Mochin. It cannot be touched or felt in any other level, in any other faculty. He is drawn and he focuses in and he gets involved in that which is above him. To put it in a simple terms, that which a person can grasp with his hand or can see the entire present Mitzias from beginning to end, its structure and its form and how it stands and so forth, that is with him the human world, but within the world. That which is in Oretz is all graspable. One never perceives the Oretz as infinite, although there is infinite qualities in the Oretz, as the Baal Shem Tov says, but that is hidden. What is seen, what is observed, what is experienced is all tangible and definable elements. No matter, like we spoke many times, no matter how far a person glances on the earth, everything that the entire stretch is all definable in terms of inches and yards and miles. This is how he sees it. In contrast, when a person looks at the sky is also, he is also observing, so to speak, an observable expanse. There is no sense at all of the components of sky. The sky is observed and there is no sense at all that this is a graspable view. and you can subdivide it into components. In fact, you cannot. This is what the Mochin are drawn to. This is what touches the mind, the sechel element. From the sechel perspective, this is real. He's drawn to that which is above him. And this is what the sechel lives with. There is that reality. Everything else is contained and embraced within that reality. And therefore this is not sechel, which is at the level of midas and the level of how you utilize things. But where do you live? Where do you live? What is your orientation in terms of what is the environment in which you're present? The environment is the infinite reality. It cannot be subdivided, it cannot be apportioned in worldly terms. And for this reason, if in Mochin brings about a sense of bitul, of insignificance of oneself. In other words, the yonim of Mochin yonim, one recognizes by the rejection of one's presence, or negation in lack of focus. In contrast to midas, where is Adei Hergesh Atzmi. Okay, so we started. Because Mochin are drawn and they attach themselves to that which is above him, therefore it affects a bitul atzmos. The line that we started today begins with the word she-zeh-poel bitul, so towards the bottom of the page. Midos are bivchinas. How do you test for midos? Is there a midah here? It is bivchinas hergesh atzmi, when there is a sense of oneself. Dafke. Dafke means this is emphatic. There's no alternative to this. If he does not sense himself, he cannot surmise, so to speak, in his terms, what he is drawn to in midas, he cannot be drawn to that. The Pasuk says, you have to love every Jew like yourself. If the mitzvah is lehato recha komecha, recha means your friend. Your friend means the person that you know that is your neighbor. So why is it here lehato recha komecha? Then she said lehato lechol yisrael komecha. To every Jew, which is in fact the mitzvah. That's why I said le'yachol, because a mitzvah has to be specifically identified. You should love your friend, why not you know your neighbor? If there is not a specific entity that you apply your avo to, they cannot be avo. Because avo is all based on hergesh metzias atzmi. Okay, continue now. The line begins kuli. Ve'al kein, and therefore, hagiloi b'midos hu lamata harbe mi b'mochin. The gilui, the revelation in midos. The gilui means the revelation, the supreme, the divine revelation, the sense of the ultimate reality, ultimate truth. b'midos hulamato harbe mi b'meichin, is much lower than meichin. Let us speak for a moment on the word gilui. Even though the midos, there is a real experience. There's a tangible connection between, let's say, the two people that there's ahava between, or whatever connection it is. But this connection is a connection of experience rather than gilui, than recognition. Gilui means that you sense an inner reality. Midos are not connecting to the inner reality, they're connecting to the external reality. And that's why it's a matter hard by me. Continue. והגם שזה הגוף או מה שמשיג טוב. Yeah, there's something missing of it. Even though this itself, מה שמשיג טוב, that he recognizes the goodness of something. הרי זה במוחין, that actually occurs in the Mochin. He recognizes that to do a favor is a good thing. This is a Mochin element. To do a good deed is a good thing. This is a Mochin. Midos is when it attaches him, but recognize the toiv hadover, the goodness. This person is a very good person because he does favors. So the one who receives the favor, that's his personal thing. But to recognize the goodness of the person himself, this is a very Mochin element. This is not in Midas. Hine. However, do I have you with me? Hasogas ha-moichin hu, but is comprehending the moichin is rak toiv hadover be'etzem. Be'etzem is only the goodness of this thing, be'etzem in essence, that it is, so to speak, objectively a good thing. Loi masha loi toiv, not the principle. How it reflects itself to himself, to him, how this is good for him, to him, how he appreciates the goodness, but how the thing is good in and of itself. The supremacy and the special quality, the dearness, the preciousness of this thing. This is how Mochin perceives, not how it touches him. Then further down, that aspect of this recognition that ultimately ends up in midos, in midos is only that which is loi toiv, that this is good to him, that he recognizes the goodness from his own perspective. V'gam zois, and furthermore, the hasogas toiv hadover, that even in this inyan, that Mochin perceives the goodness of the thing. So when you say goodness of the thing, which means that he is not perceiving the absolute reality of this thing as it is unto itself, but goodness, how it translates towards something else, in another environment. Goodness is already a midas element. So even though he perceives it on a Mochin level, nevertheless, that which he perceives, it is in Mochin, but the perception of the goodness of the thing, something that has a definitive quality, that this is a perceived, this is only in the chitzonis of the Mochin. This is not what's called Mochin be'etzem. This is not that which touches the Mochin in essence. Mochin, as we spoken many times, and we just give the example of observing the sky, is observing something which is real in and of itself. Observing goodness is not an objective reality. It has some kind of implication. This is in chitzonis amich. This is called chitzonis amich. Chitzonis, what chitzonis means? How Mochin pertains to that which is outside of it. The consequence of this observation. This is chitzonis amich. Primus amichin is how it is perceived for himself. Chitzonis is how that translates into something else. The hoyiker, and principally, let me say it is in Mochin, in chitzonis amichin. Principally in Mochin itself, it is hu b'midoy shebemochin. It is at the level and in the midos that are contained in Mochin. In Mochin itself, there is also contained, incorporated in from midos. The midos, as they are contained within the Mochin, this is where there is a Mochin perception of the goodness of things. This is not pure Mochin. The Mochin be'etzem, because Mochin in essence, if it were pure Mochin, hein rag hasogas etzem hadover. That pertains only to hasogas etzem hadover, to the grasp of the reality of the thing, of how it is unto itself, not its reflection or its effect to how that that will translate in another environment. Lei as hatoif sha'adover, not the goodness of the thing. Rak mashamasig etzem ha'inyan. It is only that he grasps and understands etzem ha'inyan, the inyan itself, no consequential redefinition of it. The therefore, what does it mean in an environment? Vasogas hadover, and therefore hasogas hadover, the grasp of the thing. Eich shehu toiv, from the perspective that it is good, and sensing how good it is, shemispoya b'mochin al zeh, where he becomes affected in his moich. He perceives the goodness of this thing and is actually touched by it. He is affected, his mispoya means is excited by recognizing this goodness. This is in the midas of b'mochin, midas that are contained in the mochin, not in the mochin, not in the mochin as they are unto themselves. Where do midas come to Mochin? How come there is midas in Mochin? This is not being discussed here at all, but this is a well-known principle. Everything that is real, everything that is true, has a complete structure. starting from the highest point, which is Chochmah, all the way to Malchus. So Mochin, even when we talk about Mochin, the pure Mochin, there too there is a whole structure. The initial conception, and then the elaboration, and then how it translates on a midas level. For example, we mentioned before the observation of the sky, which is really a Mochin experience. We said there is no dimensional element there. We don't think when you're talking about saying, oh, how big it is, how many miles does it cover? It doesn't even strike you from that perspective. When you look at the earth, you immediately think in terms of how far is it. In the sky, it doesn't go into that element at all, because it's Mochin. It looks at the reality. So, nonetheless, in observing the sky, there is the impression of its beauty, of its glory. This is the midas shebamochin. Because everything has a complete structure. Complete structure is from Chochmah all the way down to Malchus. That's a reality.
Usually with
Smile.
usually with sechel.
I think it deserves to be a smile.
Yeah, you think? We stress that sechel deals with definition. Sechel has to have parameters. But here we're focusing on the way that sechel deals with or cleaves to infinity, right? Without
Sechel is the parameters, and relative to Rotzain has parameters.
Oh. Okay, but in our context here, relative to midas,
It is
beyond.
beyond, right.
Huh.
Yes, that's why I give the motion from the sky. It's a phenomenal thing. We look at the ground and immediately think, how far is this? How large is this field? Not only that, how large is the sea? The field, maybe you have to, you can walk on it, so you figure how long is it going to take to walk it. But the sea, you don't walk in the sea. How large is the ocean? It's inevitable that one begins to think, how big is this water way? And the sky, that thought didn't occur. Because it's on a different level. The whole observation is on a different level. This is called a Mochin observation. The reality of it. It doesn't ask for a translation on any other level than itself. Yet still, there is a midas shebamochin.
Seems almost immediate that it strikes you that it's beautiful, it makes you feel good.
Well, then you're taking the midas out of the Mochin. Yeah, that's a different thing. Talking about if you focus on the Mochin element, it's not a question of making you feel well. It is the elevation that you feel through that. That's something beyond grasp. That's what I'm talking about. Okay, towards the end of the second line from the bottom, it's important. Okay, we're dissecting, so it's thin here. But even that Mochin have what's called chitzonis hamochin, and there is a name for midas shebamochin, and therefore in Mochin there is also a sense of the goodness of things, which is midah shebamechin. So the reason here for midah shebamechin, kol zeh, yet still, all of this, hurag hasogas hatoiv be'etzem, it is still at the level of relating to hatoiv be'etzem, of the essential goodness that this thing alerts you to. Not the personal goodness, how it was good for me, but how it is good in itself. B'midos, but then in midos, bo haheryesh, there comes the sense, eich shaloi toiv hadover. There he senses eich shaloi toiv hadover, the essence of how it is good to him.
What? Yeah. The meaning of tov be'etzem versus, or just that itself.
That itself is good.
What can one understand by something being good at essence?
Excuse me?
What can be said about the meaning here of essentially good, or
The principle of human interaction in a proper manner, of giving cognizance to each other. Like v'havta komeich. It's understood as a phenomenally good thing. Not because it translates in peaceful coexistence.
Right. That something's fundamentally good, not because of any consequence or bechein.
That's right. But that goodness is already a midas element.
It is. It's be'etzem, but it's a midas element?
That's right. That's what he says. He says, hasogas hatoiv be'etzem.
Okay, but back to that something can be good without any thought of the consequence. What does it mean?
Mochin perceives things not in. There is a Mochin be'etzem. The essential comprehension of Mochin has nothing to do with the goodness of the thing at all.
Yeah. So that would seem to imply that be'etzem there is no tov or ra.
No, there is.
Just
That's what I'm saying. There's a midas Mochin. In everything, there is a complete structure. That's why I give you the whole explanation. A real thing has a complete structure, top to bottom.
And that's to say, as if to say that in sechel inherently is the element of good.
In sechel inherently there is a midah shebasechel. That's like in everything that there is. Everything that exists has a complete, a total presence.
Parts of left and right, the whole form.
Everything.
Yeah.
We always make a distinction. Says there is a home, there's a house, and there's a home.
Okay, so even though sechel wants to, like we said at the outset, it tends to go away from worldliness, goes away from definitions, still it's dealing with left and right and good and bad?
Because inherent in that, it doesn't deal with it. Inherent in that there is good and bad.
Why? Because when it sees or perceives a thing, it's going to note the good and not good elements to it?
That's right.
Why would it not just see things the way they are? Because
in Mochin itself there is midas. It is not. He will focus on the greatness of it. Even though he focuses on the greatness of it, underneath that there is the element of its goodness.
We just go back to the example of people interacting.
Mm-hmm.
As that was sort of brought as an example of good, perhaps good at etzem, at the essential level. Why would sechel not just be like, see, okay, here's isolation, here's inter-inclusion, here's communication, here is solitude, without an element of this is good or not good. Just this is the way things are. This is black, this is grey, this is very white, this is darker. The word good seems to be to do with midas. Seems to be.
That's right. But midas is part of the reality of Mochin itself.
Really. So there is no Mochin that's stripped
There is
of
nothing,
midas.
not only Mochin. Just as there is no top without a bottom.
And that's not a worldly problem. That's that's a
a-
reality
That's
situation.
a reality in creation.
Interesting. So okay, fine. So even though sechel deals with a context completely stripped from worldly limitations, etc., yet still we're using very worldly orientations, top and bottom.
Yes. And let's take that a step further, since you're digging it. The reason there is no top without a bottom is because this is a godly creation. A godly creation is real. A top without a bottom lacks reality, at least within its own context.
Really?
Here,
Really?
yeah, really. This cannot stand.
Yeah.
It's not a real creation if it cannot stand.
That's in a worldly setting. Yeah.
That's not in a world setting. It's in a world setting from a reality perspective.
Again, what?
It's in a worldly setting from a reality perspective.
Oh, so in its reality setting, it too needs to stand.
That's
It-
The
it
person who
needs-
designed this, did he know what he was doing?
Yeah, in the setting.
If he can't stand like this,
No.
he can stand like this. If he cannot stand on the table, did he know what he was doing?
No.
He was doing. He was making a whatever it's called, a transmitter or whatever it is. It transmits, but it's not a real presence It's not a real presence.
So real has kind of a full structure where within that context something's higher than something else.
That's right.
Uh-huh.
This is what I'm saying. In Mochin itself, there is also midas inherent. But this is midas she-zeh-poel. But midas per se, that involves personal awareness, personal sense. Hegeschatzmai.
Okay, which we said in the beginning, sechel does not deal with.
Sechel does not deal with it. Sechel deals on how things are in reality. Not good, but goodness. Okay. This is it for this morning.
Thank you. Happened to be up around 5 yesterday morning, and when the sky started to be lit up,
Yeah.
and I was just thinking it was a good
Precursor, introduction to today's share.